Good morning, good morning. It is Wednesday, the 5th of June, 2024. You're watching Morning Brew on Labour Social. I'm Graham Hughes. How you all doing this morning? We've got loads of people in the chat today. We've got Gallifrey Men, we've got Sarah S, we've got Roger, we've got number 3. Hi there. How you doing, Richard? We've got Jim, we've got Elizabeth, we've got 31 Blaze, we've got Nick and Diff, we've got David, we've got Viv Burgess, we've got Dave Walton. Plumtoff is in there. Where's old shiny shoes? I feel like showing you my shoes now, just so you can see how shiny they are. Barely got laces. Was last night a debate? I switched off after 5 minutes because it rapidly turned into prep school brawl with Sunak doing all the interrupting and shouting. Yes. When I put the thumbnail together of today's show and said Sunak needs to get Starmer needs to get better at this, it's because I think that there is a certain element in the way that Starmer presents himself as a lawyer, as a barrister, as the former director of public prosecutions, that he hates saying the word liar because it's not something that you can really say in court, because if you accuse someone of lying in court, it's just not done. You're not allowed to accuse someone of lying in the House of Parliament. But in an ITV studio, you can, and you possibly should, accuse someone of lying, especially as Sunak repeated a lie over and over again about this £38 billion that Labour was going to cost the taxpayer at a cost per tax-paying family of £2,000 each. This was an outright lie, and Starmer should have said it. He should have said, this is an outright lie. So here's a letter. This is from the Chief Treasury civil servant here. Writing to Labour. This is 2 days ago. As you'll be aware, when costing the policies of opposition parties, HM Treasury and the wider civil service follow established guidance set out by the Directory of Civil Servants Guidance. As per this guidance, the costing produced by HM Treasury and the other wider civil servants are published on the gov.uk website. As you'll expect, civil servants were not involved in the production or presentation of the Conservative Party's document, Labour's tax rises, or in the calculation of the total figures used. So that lie that Sunak kept trotting out, that this was something that the civil servants in the Treasury had put together, it was their costings that they presented, was an outright lie. It was, in fact, invented by SPADs, special advisors working for the Tories. And I really do believe that Starmer will not lose a single vote if next time Sunak tries to pull a trick like this. And this letter arrived 2 days ago. So I'm guessing that Starmer knew that point was going to come up, and he should have rebutted it straight away by saying you are lying. And for that reason. I also feel like if you've got 45 seconds to say something, and I'm going to call me a massive, big fat hypocrite here, Graham, saying that you should try and keep your answers as short as possible, but you should. It should have been not trying to fill up the whole 45 seconds of talking, because that comes across as waffling. He should have been absolutely surgical in saying, you're lying, you've had 14 years to fix this, Labour will fix this. What are you going to do about tax? We're going to close tax loopholes. We're going to tax VAT on schools. We're going to close down the non-dom status, which Rishi Sunak's wife held while she was living in Downing Street. The thing is, every attack line on the Tories, you can make it personal, because they've been in charge for 14 years, and if there's any great idea they think is going to revive the economy, they've had 14 years to do it. And that's all you need to say. And I think that I don't know, obviously, what the internal machinations are in Labour, whether Starmer gets taught how to debate in these things, or he just thinks, do you know what? I'm a world-class barrister. I don't need to learn how to debate in these things. but it is slightly different, and it is the way that people come across. I mean, look, when the exit polls, or whatever it's called, after the show last night, after the debate, came out, it was 50-50. I mean, it was in margin of error. They go like, Sunak won because he got 51. I'm like, that's not a win. That's like margin of error. But still, he shouldn't have got anywhere near that. It should have been, who won that? Oh, Starmer. Starmer, all the way. 90% saying Starmer. Oh, I'm a Conservative voter, but yeah, Sunak didn't come out with that looking too good. But Sunak was on the attack because he knows his back against the wall. He knows he's 20 points behind in the polls. And Starmer was a little bit too much like, well, we're going to beat you anyway, so I'm not going to try that hard to, pull your pants up over your head. Anyway, so I'm going to just jump into the chat, see what you think. Sunak did a hilarious side eye when Starmer mentioned the document he hadn't seen. Proper panic look on his face. Poininator, Graham, I think Starmer prepped for the two main response, emphasis with the asker, point to Tory failure, and then explain Labour's position, which he doesn't have time for. Yeah, exactly my point. We talk a lot about how annoying it is that the Tories like to come up with their three-word slogans, but they work. The vast majority of people are living their lives. They're not that interested in politics. I keep saying this. You've got to catch their attention. Oh, got a super chat coming. Thank you very much to Richard C. there. Thank you. Labour can use this lie against the Tories for the rest of the campaign. Very good point. Thanks for the super chat. And I think you're right. I think they should, and I think they will. I think they absolutely will. You can't trust the Tories because they just lie. They lie as easily as they breathe. As of February 2020, Treasury SPADs and number 10 SPADs are the same. That's from Christopher Bowles. No. It was number 10 SPADs. It was special advisors to people who worked to the ministers in the Treasury that came up with these figures, these bullshit figures that they pulled out their ass. Pete Turner says, even if the 2K was true, it's over 4 years. That would be about £10 a week per family, so roughly £2.50 per person or 40 pence a day. But it's a lie anyway. Yeah. Yuli Kaluda, thanks for exposing Sunak's lying machine. Yeah, he is. Starmer will be better next time when he realises 45 seconds is no time. Yeah, it absolutely is. And I know that doing these shows, I've done TED Talks, and you have to go out on stage. And you usually have an iPad or something in front of you on the stage with a countdown on it, like when you've got to finish your speech. And I never write down speeches. I always shoot from the hip when I'm doing live things. I mean, I'll pre-record and I'll script that, but generally speaking, I just write down some ideas that I've got and I'll just let it flow. But yeah, it can be difficult to keep down to the time that you've got, especially when you're watching those seconds tick down. And it's really difficult to think, like, while you're talking, while you're trying to make your point, while you're trying to refute what's being said, there's a lot of things going on. You're not really thinking about the time that it's taking. So I think he needs to sort of at least train himself to respond to whatever the Tories are going to throw at them, which is, it's kind of predictable. That was another thing I was going to say. Like, I had the bingo words coming up during the show last night when I did the watch party, and it was obvious what he was going to say. It was just like, we've got a plan. Labour hasn't got a plan. Well, actually, we do. I go and see our manifesto. It's the best plan. It's an amazing plan. And yeah, I think that as well as refuting the Tories more effectively and just saying that's a lie, that takes like a couple of seconds to say that's a lie, or maybe add a little bit, stop lying. Why are you lying to all these people? All these good people? I think Starmer could do with a little bit of boosterism. All right, take it. You're going to hate me saying this, right? Just bear with me for a moment. You need to take a leaf out of Trump's book. You need to take a leaf out of Boris Johnson's book. And I don't mean in terms of being sexually incontinent or being the most horrible people who ever lived. No. I'm talking about boosterism. I'm talking about making the people in the audience feel good about themselves. And this is, and I've spoken about this before, this is a big problem with the left. The right make racists feel good about themselves. Farage goes out and says, I don't like people of different cultures. And all the people who don't like people of other cultures go, yes, my bigoted beliefs are validated. So what I would do if I was advising Starmer is make people in the audience feel good. Make them feel good about being British. Make them good about feeling good about the stuff that they do. Say, when we talk about the environment, you say, all the people in here, they all recycle. Like, everyone's doing their bit. We're all pitching it together because we are all in this together. And I think that's amazing. And I think that we could go one step further. And if we can help as a government by creating Great British Energy to bring down costs to customers and also guaranteeing energy self-sufficiency for this nation, so we're not reliant on Saudi Arabia or Angola or Libya for our energy, we can make it ourselves. Isn't that a dream that we all want to be part of? That's what I say. That was 45 seconds. That would be my response to something like that. Make people feel good about themselves because they're recycling. Make them feel like there's a common goal, which is to stop climate change or mitigate the problem. Mitigate climate change. I think we can stop it now, but we can, there's a level that is a bit more manageable than a level that's not. But yeah, it's easy for me to sit here the day after and said, oh, you should have said this, should have said that. I've done stand up. I've been to interviews, a few, not many, but I've been to a lot of pitch meetings. That's something that I've done a lot of. And it's difficult because you walk away afterwards and you think, oh shit, I should have said that. I should have said this. So I get that. I completely get that in the moment and everything. And it's not very helpful. But at the same time, I do find myself watching a lot of movies and thinking, I wouldn't have done that. As well, whatever the director or the scriptwriter has chosen, or even the way that something is acted out, I'll be sitting there going, well, if I made this movie, I wouldn't do that. And you can always tell a movie that I'm going to really love because I come away and go, couldn't make that any better. That was perfect. I wouldn't have made a better movie than that. With all the money and all the power and everything else, I couldn't have made a better movie than that. Michael Warner, £5 super chat. Thank you very much for that. It's a lie, but is it a crime if they keep saying it? Also, Farage milkshake stunt may have been illegal. Well, it's assault, isn't it? But it's assault with a flavored drink. Banana milkshake. Bit of a waste of banana milkshake throwing it on Farage, but there you go. Johnny Copperhead, either nostalgia. Once again, the initials NF stand for bigotry and intolerance. Thanks very much for the super chat there, Johnny. You're absolutely right. Anyway, so yeah, I'm watching a movie and I think, I would have done it that way. And so it's very easy for me to watch Prime Minister's questions or a debate like this and think, this is what I would say if I was asked that question. This is what I would do if I was in that position. But I find that Starmer in particular, he likes to be across his brief. He likes to have things written down. He's not very spontaneous, and also I think he needs to lean in a bit more into the boosterism and also the humor, and that's something that Trump and Johnson do very well as well because they are funny. I mean, I don't find them funny. I find them disgusting. The only day I'm going to find them funny is the day that they shuffle off this mortal coil, hopefully together in a rocket being fired into the sun. But that's not the point. The point is that people find them funny. People find them amusing. And it works. I've said this before as well. You forgive people who make you laugh a lot more than people who don't. True story. David Fulton, thank you very much for the 38 Hong Kong dollars. Hong Kong dollars, thank you. Not 100% enamoured with Keir Starmer, but my family and I will vote for Labour if only to see the Tory party eradicated. Hope that he improves. Yeah, I'm feeling a bit like that as well. But speaking on to my next point, does it matter? Does it matter that Starmer's not that great at these debates? Because they're 20 points ahead in the polls. I would say yes, it does. Because the weird thing about British politics is that things can turn on a knife edge and you don't know what's going to happen. All right, so I'll give you an example. Say the polls start to narrow. I know they haven't so far, but maybe they will. Labour will mess up in some major way. And suddenly the Tories are on 30% of the vote rather than, 20%, which is what they're on at the moment. Okay, cool. And then literally a few days before the election, all the Reform candidates are stood down in seats where it looks like the Tories could win. So the right-wing vote isn't split anymore. And yeah, great, okay. Then you're going to have an issue where Labour might not get a majority. I know some people want that, but I think that's weird. And I've already explained many times why I think that's weird. But Labour need 120 more seats than they have now. 120 more seats just to break even, just to get a working majority of one. So it's a big ask. It's a big ask to say, "Oh, you know, we're 20 points ahead in the polls. Forget about it. We're golden." No. You have to fight. You have to fight for every single one of those votes. And I really don't think that these polls that are coming out that are saying, "Oh, the Tories are going to be decimated. Tories are going to lose all their seats." I don't think that helpful because loads of people on the left will just not bother voting because they'll be like, "Oh, well, it's a foregone conclusion." So people who are not that into politics. And then there's going to be people who are into politics who will vote for the Greens or vote for Lib Dems in seats that Labour need to win because they think, "Oh, well, you know, Labour are going to win it, so who cares? We need to temper them. We need to temper them." But by voting for the Lib Dems or the Greens in certain constituencies, you're letting the Tory win. So you're effectively voting for more Conservative MPs, which is a question that I ask when people go, "Hey, what we should do is we should have a hung parliament," and like, who are you going to tell? Which Tory MP should we vote for then? Which Tory MP should we campaign for to win their constituency? Liz Truss, Kemi Badenoch, Jacob Rees-Mogg. Okay. And people going, Ivan had a super chat as well. Sorry, Ivan, I missed your super chat there, Ivan. Where's Ivan's super chat? Oh, you did as well. Thank you very much, Ivan, for the £5 super chat. I'm sorry that I missed it. I was rabbiting away. More than 45 seconds. Thank you so much. That's really kind. Sunak said he didn't want to discuss the last 14 years of Tory failure. Tough. The people want to talk about it. Yeah. They want to talk about the last 14 years that they've been in power. He just wants to look to the future. And there was a good line from Starmer where he said, "You got nothing." Yeah, he should be standing here talking about all these amazing things that the Tories have done. But if the Tories look in their cupboard, the cupboard is bare. They could argue gay marriage, but at the same time, more Tories voted against it than voted for it. Or they could argue Brexit, but no one wants to touch Brexit with a shitty stick. In fact, the word Brexit wasn't mentioned in the show last night, which is kind of amazing. I actually made a graphic. I'll see if we can just get it up here. I made a don't mention the Brexit graphic. I'll try and pull it up onto the screen here so you can see it. But don't mention the Brexit. I need to put a drop shadow on that, don't I? Make it easier to read. But yeah, Van says, anyone who's so hard of thinking that 3 slogans work makes me not want to live on this planet anymore, maybe Mars or Vulcan. I don't think it's well, you could live on Gallifrey, mate. Gallifrey, mate, man, I don't think it's about people being harder thinking. I think people who come at you on Twitter and stuff and say horrible things, pro Tory, pro Nigel Farage, National Front, whatever. I think they're the harder thinking. But I think there is a lot of people in this country who aren't engaged in politics. They're just completely disengaged. And that's fine. Honestly, like, I know people go, "Oh yeah, but it's what affects everyone's life and you should care." I know they should, but they don't, and we can't force them, because if we force them to take an issue, take a side in politics, and they're not interested in politics, you're playing with fire because they're not necessarily going to make the best decision. And I say this about the Australian system where you have to vote. I thought that was a great idea when I lived in Australia. Everyone has to vote. Very patriotic. Good idea, that, because people died for people's right to vote. Yeah, okay, I'll go with that. Yeah, you should vote. But then I think actually it doesn't result in the governments that you necessarily think it will. You think, "Oh, well, everyone's going to be all socialist then, aren't they?" No, they're not, because people aren't paying attention. If you're not paying attention to politics 99% of the time, that one day when you've got to pay attention, you are going to be swayed by 3-word slogans because you just don't have the time or the bandwidth to be dealing with politics. You've got other things going on in your life, things that you think are more important. And you know what? I think that's more democratic to allow people to disengage in politics if they don't want to. I don't think it should be forced down people's throats. That's just the I don't know. I think each to their own. That's my attitude. Live and let live. I'd love people to care more about politics. I really would. But that's more up to us to make politics something that people want to get involved in rather than shouting at them. Oh, you dickhead! Can you help us out here? But yeah, Johnny Copperhead, £2 super chat saying bleeding adverts, FFS. Sorry about that, mate. Blame YouTube. It's going to be a tough 5 years. I think PR would be a good law for Labour's 2029 campaign. Yeah, I mean, a lot of my friends, especially content creators like myself, are quite obsessed with PR. And I kind of go through phases of going, yeah, great, we should definitely do that. But also ones where I'm like, is it? First of all, is it going to give us the results that we want? Because don't forget, if we have PR, then there's a very good chance that if we brought it in tomorrow, there is a good chance, well, not tomorrow, but after the election, there's a good chance that the 2029 election, the Tories plus Reform could get more seats than Labour plus the Greens plus the Lib Dems plus the SNP. There is a chance that could happen. And then you've got Nigel Farage's party having a huge influence over the government. And Femi will argue, well, it'll be over 50% of the population who voted who wanted that to happen. But this is one of the failings of democracy. It's the paradox of tolerance, isn't it? The more tolerant you are of people who are intolerant, the more intolerant society becomes. So you look at countries like Israel, where you have a coalition government led by Benjamin Netanyahu, who have a bunch of literal yahoos on the absolute right wing of the political spectrum. These people are religious zealots, maniacs who want to destroy Palestine, and they are in government, not just in parliament, in the Knesset, just arguing. No. They are in government, making decisions that are affecting the lives and causing the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people. And that shouldn't happen. We need better fortification against that happening. And I think that this is why I will always put press reform, that PR, above proportional representation, or just any kind of new voting system in this country. Because an ill-informed electorate where today the newspapers are all like, oh yeah, Starmer, he lost that debate, didn't he? And it's like, no, it was 50-50. I mean, it shouldn't have been 50-50. It should have been 90-10 in Starmer's favour in the polls, but it was 50-50. But you wouldn't believe that you wouldn't believe that if you saw the way the papers were reporting it. In fact, I'll bring up tomorrow's papers today so we can talk about it. David Welsh, thank you very much for the €5 super chat and for agreeing with me. Argentina has compulsory voting and votes at 16. It's not a panacea. They got Millie. They've had deeply corrupt Peronists. Yeah. The way Peronists sounds a lot like piranhas. It's like there was a political party in Burma, which is now Myanmar, and it was called Slorc, SLORC. I think that's what it's called, Slorc. Like it was an evil military junta that ran this country, and it was called Slorc. And I'm just like, who came up with that name? I mean, I know it's a different language and everything in Burma, but seriously, that word coming out of my mouth, Slorc, it doesn't sound nice, does it? It doesn't sound like fluffy Drixabel. I mean, come on. A marshmallow. Anyway, so this is, I'm going to show you the front covers of the newspapers now in a moment. Oh, wow, Ivan, thank you so much for the £20 super chat, mate. That's really kind. I'll give you a little super chat animation. There are reports that the Snap YouGov poll after the debate was targeted at mainly or exclusively to Tory voters I get YouGov polls all the time to complete, but didn't we say receive this poll? This says it all. Yeah. Let's see how it's reported in the papers here. Okay, so we've got the Telegraph, Starmer on the ropes over tax, and then Kapow, feisty Rishi, floors Starmer over £2,000 tax rise, which is a lie. So that's a lie. That's a lie. Okay, so we've got 2 lies so far. Labour accused of on tax as Sunak comes out fighting. That's again. I suppose it's not a lie because they're just reporting that he was accused of something, but the accusation was a lie. There you go. That's a Murdoch rag these days, unfortunately, at the Times. Do you remember when the Times was the most prestige newspaper in the world, and then it got bought by an Australian billionaire, Tyrant billionaire. How the mighty have fallen. Leaders clash on migration, tax, and NHS in ill-tempered debate. It was quite ill-tempered. I noticed that. Fiery Rishi comes out swinging and lands big blows. Again, a lie from the Daily Mail. PM claims Kia plotting £2,000 of tax rises for every family. Again, massive lie. I don't know if anyone remembers the old 1992 bombshell. They had a bomb. It was an advert, and written on the bomb was "Labour want to raise your taxes by £1,250." I remember it well. Fiery Rishi comes out swinging. Yeah, so that was, yeah, whatever. 2029 election ignites during angry TV clash. I suppose it was a bit more interesting than everyone agreeing, but you know, whatever. Asbo orcas are just like Kevin the Teenager. There's a story in the Star that the killer whales that have been attacking hundreds of boats over the last couple of years are teenagers who are just bored. So they just want to destroy stuff because that's what teenagers do. And D-Day, 80 years on, these are all good men, overwhelming emotion as the heroes return. D-Day actually took place tomorrow, well, not tomorrow, 80 years ago tomorrow, on the 6th of June, 1944. Farage there, being milkshaked. Farage, I want to replace the Tories. See, this put me in an awkward spot because I want to destroy the Tories, but I don't want to be replaced by this disgusting human tapeworm. And shaky start for Farage, with this wonderful picture of this young lady throwing banana milkshake in his stupid, ugly face. And there's another one there. I prefer the one after that where it's actually hitting his face myself, but, you know, that's just me. That is just me. Scott Walton, thank you very much for the £5 super chat there, mate. That is very kind of you. I noticed the Snap YouGov poll had a breakdown of 2019 Tory voters versus general, and the Tory voters were watching a different debate. That might be true. How is SCOTUS doing right now? Oh God, don't bring up the Supreme Court, the Trumpist Supreme Court. Anyway, yeah. So Trump's going to get away with all that. We need to talk about it on Geoscope next time we do one with Ollie. So we didn't do a Geoscope last night. Ollie's not back of his jollies. Farage will be seen, will act as an Overton window tool once Labour get in. Starmer needs to push for PR and single market EEA from outside the EU for now. First past the post will drag the status quo on for years to come. That's very true. There's a gif of PR person in his campaign. Orcas probably got bored during lockdown. Well, actually, the level of happiness of orcas and other big marine mammals went up after 9/11 because all transport was closed down for a couple of days, and so there were no boats plowing across the Atlantic. They all just stopped, and so there wasn't that noise of the ship's engines which echo through the ocean for miles in every direction, which causes stress amongst marine mammals. Fun story. Yes, so Labour's tax bombshell was the advert made by Saatchi and Saatchi, probably Saatchi being a massive Tory. Let's have a look here. Labour's tax bombshell. Oh wow, there's actually 2 of them. Okay, well this is the one that I remember. Let's have a look. So this is the tax bombshell. Oh, wow. Nice. I'm going to make this look. I'm going to fade this in and make it look a bit classy. Well, that's what I'm going to try and do. It might not work. It might look rubbish, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. You can but try. There you go. Yes. So there you go. There's okay. I can't really fit this on the page in a nice, satisfying way without covering things, but never mind. It's just the way that it's just gonna turn out, I think. Oh, do you know what I could do? No, I'm not gonna do that. All right. So there you go. There it is. Labour's tax bombshell. This is from this advert is from 32 years ago, and it's exactly this. It's just that's what he said yesterday. He's just put it up a bit. It worked in 92, though, by the way. No one wants to think they're going to pay more tax, and that's why that lie was so pernicious, and it's why Starmer should have said that is a lie. Use the word that is a lie. You are a liar. All you do is lie. You lied about your 5 promises. You lied about what you were doing during lockdown. You lied about wearing a safety belt. You lied about how you made your money. You lied about your wife being a non-dom. You list all the things that he lied about. Are the whales acting independently, or is it all orchestrated? I see what you did there, Don. That's very good. I wish I could give super chats back to you lot. That'd be a really cool mechanism that I could be like, oh, okay, I'm going to pass a super chat that came to me. I'm going to pass it on to one of you for the best comment. The EU survives, and you know I'm a sucker for puns. Andrew Ray says the EU survives on PR. If the EU's first past the post, it would have failed decades ago and probably be only 5 countries. Yep, probably. Their scores were completely nuts. They had Sunak winning on the NHS portion. Yeah, just how when people are waiting so much. But also I noticed that there was quite a lot of applause for Sunak when he said stuff, and there were quite a few people in the audience like, yeah, that was great. And I'm like, that can't be proportionate. That can't be proportionate, can it? Peter Mizzen says Sunak, all he did was repeat PM question time. Starmer did try, but his first time it was okay. There's another one. He will have learned how dirty Sunak is with his lies about Labour's tax. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Gavin says Graham is absolutely correct. Last night was not nearly good enough from Starmer, and his communication is that dire when in office. It will open the door for the Tories. Yeah, I love those words. Graham, you were right. I don't hear them very often. There's a Savanta poll that's just come out saying that Starmer won 44-39. Yeah. Trump looking at 18 months with more tagged on for breaking the gag order. Maybe you should get educated on a US law. Try watching Legal as F, Glenn Clearshaw on the Midas Network. I watched them, so Larry the Cat. I watched them, and I think that their output is good. It kind of annoys me that every single thumbnail has to be, and every single video title has to be catastrophic, bombshell, annihilation. It's always got to be like some big, oh my, he's got the worst news in the world has come to Trump. But look, you're going to hate me saying this, but this is just my feeling about all this. It does smack of copium quite a lot, as if the polls are all wrong and there are these shy Biden voters who are just not talking about stuff. Because I think that the reality is terrifying. The reality is Trump only needs to win a couple of thousand votes out of 300 million in order to win this election. Just a few thousand. That's all that's going to come down to. It's all that it ever comes down to in those 5 or 6 swing states. And he's ahead in all of them. And I know that the polls might be narrowing, which they always do, towards the actual election. But there are no shy Biden voters. They just don't exist. If you support Biden, you're going to support Biden. You're going to tell people I'm supporting Biden because Trump is a mess. He's a car crash of a man. Never mind a president. But there are shy Trump voters who are good, moral, upstanding citizens who go to church and don't cheat on their wives with porn stars and don't think that's a very nice thing to do. And someone asks them, do you think it's acceptable for a human being to do these things? They'll say, no, it's not. And he's obviously going to burn in hell, which definitely exists, for all of his crimes against humanity. And then they'll go into the polling station on November the 5th, and they will vote for Trump. And there doesn't have to be that many of them. We're talking about 1% of the population of America, if that. And that's all it takes. And that's the scary thing. Trump has got all the billionaires, except for Taylor Swift, on his side. He has got the Supreme Court supremely on his side. So much so that they're spending months figuring out whether the president is above the law or not. Something that should have been obvious from the fact that they fought a revolutionary war against the king they saw as being above the law. It wasn't actually true by the time that George was on the throne. Then George III, the king didn't have much power really at all. In fact, by then, the royal prerogative of overruling Parliament hadn't been used since 1707. So it was a good 70 years earlier that it had actually been used before the Revolutionary War. And it hasn't been used since, by the way, the royal prerogative to say, I'm not going to sign that bill. I think someone needs to look it up. I think it was Queen Anne. I think it was the Scottish Militia Act of 1707. Might be wrong. Don't have the facts in front of me. But the idea that no one is above the law is supposed to be the foundational bedrock of American society. But it's not, is it? Because money buys you everything, and Trump is supported by Putin and Putin's gangster network, and Putin is the richest man in the world. Elon Musk, surprise, not the richest man in the world. Putin is by a mile. And then probably MLB or whatever his name is in Saudi Arabia, also insanely wealthy, absolute mad amounts of money, which they don't declare because they don't have to. There's no agency in Russia or in Saudi Arabia saying, well, you really need to return your tax returns. Return your tax returns. You need to do your tax returns, sir, we need to find out exactly how much money you've got scribbled away in bank accounts all around the world. No, that just doesn't happen. And they're supporting Trump. They're massively supporting Trump. I think it's very complacent to be sitting there now screaming at me, going, shut up, Graham, he's not going to win. And I'm like, he might. And I think that if we just decide that he's not going to win and bury our heads in the sand, we're going to be in the same place we were in 2016, where we all decided that he wasn't going to win. And then he did. But the thing is, if he wins this time, there's going to be no rematch. There's going to be no revote in 2028. That's it for America until Trump dies. That's it. He's going to be the leader. He's got the Supreme Court wrapped around his finger. And if he gets another 4 years, there's another 3 liberal justices who are probably going to cark it on the Supreme Court and be replaced with mad, swivel-eyed, ultra-conservatives who are 43 years old and will be on there for the next 50 years. Ivan Ambrose, thank you very much for the super chat there, mate. BBC Question Time certainly has its flaws, but at least the audience has much more of a say. Last night should have been the same. Elections about the electorate, not Sunak. I absolutely agree, mate. That is true. And also, it felt messy. It felt like a messy debate. I know that the presenter was criticised. I think that the behaviour of Sunak in particular wasn't great, but I think she should have had a bit more control over him talking over Starmer all the time. But then Starmer did it a little bit as well. Howard Risby says, with no written constitution, I've sought clarification of the function of an upper house. Should the hereditary peers be turfed out as indicated? Commons 2 seems redundant. I think we need an upper chamber. I just don't think that it should be political appointees necessarily. Mickey says, far away, some recess, God and the devil playing chess. The devil still cheats and wins more souls. As for the Lord, he's just doing his best. Indeed. So, Lively the Cat, sadly, you know about as much about US law as you do about Venezuela. Okay, sorry. Sorry, but I look at the facts and not feelings. Glenn Clareshaw and Michael Pocock were both US prosecutors and they go by feelings. I know, but look, I'm looking at the situation in America at the moment, and you can educate me on the law in America because, I don't know as much about the law in America as I do about the law in the UK, and I don't know that much about the law in the UK. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just looking at what I've seen, okay? And here's what I've seen. One of the richest people in the world, who used to be president, who's incredibly powerful, who's supported by one of the biggest political parties in the world, the Republican Party. Well, definitely one of the wealthiest political parties in the world, the Republican Party, supported by all the oil barons, the tobacco barons. He's supported by the arms manufacturers. He's supported by everyone evil in the world, basically supporting this guy. Has had 4 criminal cases brought against him, and he's managed to get out of 3 of them completely. Like, they aren't going to go ahead. Come on. Seriously. Because the other side need to be whiter than white they need to be perfect in order to get anything over this guy. And if you make one cock up, like Jack Smith, bring in a prosecution in Florida for the stolen documents rather than Washington, D.C., it seemed to make sense at the time, but then they were landed with Judge Cannon, who is in the payroll of Trump, clearly, or at least in love with Trump. I don't know. She was appointed by the Trump administration, and she's done everything in her power, which is substantial, to block everything he wants to do. To block the investigation into the trial. To block the trial going ahead. And she's been very, very, very successful at that. Meanwhile, in Washington, you've got the Supreme Court, which has been incredibly successful at blocking any prosecutions for this incredibly rich, well-connected man. You might be able to lecture me on the ins and outs of the law here, but let's face facts. He's not going to trial again before the next election. And if he wins that next election, he's never going to trial. It's as simple as that. And so, yeah, it's sitting back and going, oh, well, the polls are narrowing, and it just sounds like complacency to me. And I don't understand why the Democrats aren't going absolutely nuts about this. But the Republicans, they don't care. They don't care what he does as long as he gets into power, so they can put more people in the disgustingly corrupt and idiotic system that is the Supreme Court in America, where you have these appointed justices who are elected for life by a president, and the Republicans blocked Obama from putting someone in there in 2016 because they said, it's too close to the election. I mean, the same thing happened when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. They were like, it's too close to the election, Trump, you can't pick someone. He said, yeah, I will. And he did. And now it's a 6-3 majority for the super crazy conservatives on there. Sorry, I'm going on a bit about US politics here, but like, I don't think that legal AF and that I think they're high on copium. I think that reading between the lines, Trump's going to get away with all of this. He's not going to get a custodial sentence. If he did, it would only do him good because he can pretend that he's this billionaire nepo baby martyr, which should be an oxymoron, but there you go. And if he doesn't, he'll just say, you see, it's a sham trial. It wasn't really that big a deal, and I haven't gone to jail. And look at the American legal system. Sorry to labour this a bit, and I know I've gone over time, but he breached his gag order 11 times, and he got £1,000 fine. That's like me being fined a penny for calling the judge a corrupt, evil, having a go at the jury. It's like me being fined a penny. I'm like, yeah, robust legal system in America. Yeah. One law for the rich, one law for the rest of us. One reality for the rich, one for the rest of us. If Trump was a black man, there is no way on God's green earth that he would have got away with all this shit. No way whatsoever. And you know it. It just is. Anyway, so yeah, sorry. I know I piss people off by saying that I think Trump's going to win, but I think Trump's going to win. There were 2 judges on the Republican side that were expected to step down, maybe one on the Democrat. They locked up Martha Stewart for her first offense. They did. 1707 was the last time the chief pirate Pandundrum of the Norman bastardy occupation, is that the king then? The queen, refused to say La Reine le veut, the queen wants it, in the required Norman French. There you go. It was 1707. At least I got something right today. Listen, thank you so much for watching. Sorry for going so much over time. I'll try and keep it a bit tighter in future, down to 45 seconds. little 45-second clips. I was going to say, when I do the moments of truth, they've got to be 60 seconds or I can't put them onto YouTube Shorts. So I know how difficult it is to say anything in 60 seconds, never mind 45. You just basically got to say the headlines and that's it. But yeah, thanks very much for joining me. I will be back tomorrow. Well, Phil will be back tomorrow at 9:30 for Morning Brew. And then in the evening, we've got another episode of Quagglebox. If you can't bear to watch Question Time on your own, screaming at the telly, join me and we can scream together at the telly. So I'll be doing a live commentary, a watch party for Question Time tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. So please join me for that. Thanks for the wonderful messages. Thanks to everyone, the socialites in the chat. And, we don't have to agree on everything. Let's just say that. We don't have to agree on everything. But thanks for the super chats. It's really kind. Give us a like on the way out. And until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.